What is going on, everybody? This is Ray from Rated R Reviews. Let me get a little more comfortable right here. This is the Luke Cage Season 2 review. Hope you enjoy. So, Luke Cage Season 2. Before I get to Luke Cage Season 2, let me give you a brief description of Luke Cage Season 1. In Luke Cage Season 1, the heroes introduced, villains are introduced, they're running this club. The original villain was Cottonmouth, and he ran the club. And it was all this hip-hop, Afro-Cuban music, which was a wonderful change-up in a lot of the superhero series, because it gave it a little bit more culture, it gave a little bit more sense of music, and just a different dynamic, you know? Especially because Luke Cage is an African-American superhero that comes from Harlem, based in the 70s, but they gave him the 2010s more modernistic look. So you had to respect that. Now, with Luke Cage Season 1, it was from episode 1 to like 6, or episode 1 to 7, along those lines. It was absolutely binge-worthy. Like, you wanted to see every single episode. You wanted to see what happened next. You wanted to see what came next, especially because of the villain. The villain, Cottonmouth, was so charismatic. He was such like a scene stealer that you wanted to continue watching it. Then after 6 or 7, the episode 6 or 7, the show kind of started slowing down a little bit, started falling off. They introduced a new villain almost at the ending of the 13th episode run, and that the secondary villain was supposed to be a bigger badass in the first one, but he wasn't. It kind of fell a little short. So more than the first half, I'd say 70% of season 1 of Luke Cage was really good. I would even put it into the great category. The last like 2 or 3 episodes, the last 4 episodes, I would say was like lackluster. The very last episode, 13, was entertaining, but still not up to par with the first 6 or 7. Anyway, now about a year and a half later, come Luke Cage Season 2. I'm gonna start with the cons. I'm gonna start with what I did not like. Okay, the very first episode was, in my opinion, I know it was kind of like starting up the story, trying to have the beginning seeds of the plot, but the first episode was edited, directed, and acted like trash. I hated about 40 minutes of the first episode, just because it was so badly acted. Some characters were badly introduced. Luke Cage decided to come out at the ending of the episode, well, episode 1 or 2, I can't really remember, and I don't really want to remember, but he did a dab in the thing, because some kid is following him around, recording him, and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this was just, it was disappointing. The first episode was disappointing, and I kind of wanted to stop watching right there. But because I do like the Luke Cage character so much, I was just like, nah, let me keep watching this, because I do want to do a review on this. I want to see how good this gets. So first episode, right off the bat, I don't care what anybody else says. In my opinion, I tried to watch it twice. I could not watch it the second time because of the bad acting, and I don't mean bad acting by like the main people, like Michael Coulter. He's still a little too stiff in his acting. He's like, I'm here with Luke Cage in the first episode, and it was just like, okay, I know, I get it. You were a model for years, and now there's like your first big acting gig, and you're not gonna come out like a freaking Shakespearean thespian. I understand. They did have a lot of interesting tidbits when it comes to the culture of African American in America, and dealing with living in Harlem, and dealing with today's Trump America, quote unquote. And they just touched on it, mentioned a couple of things here and there, but mainly throughout the entire series, throughout the entire thing, it's pretty much black on black crime, with a few Hispanics thrown in and a few Italians thrown in. That's fine. Well, that's the Harlem I remember when I was a kid, when I used to go to school in Harlem in 2000, 2001. Yes, I used to go to school in Harlem, New York, and it was very rough, especially when I had to go to school every day in a suit. um, so yeah, I'm watching the I'm watching the season through, and the story is kind of convoluted because you're dealing with Michael Coulter's Luke Cage. He's dealing with a relationship with Claire, played by Rosario Dawson, and they love each other. They're trying to stay together. He's also having daddy issues because his father's a preacher, and he kind of like mistreated him or treated him too tough when he was younger. And the father wants him to come back, but he doesn't want to come back to the church specifically because his father really is a preacher, and they have this father-son dynamic. Then they have the Luke Cage and the relationship dynamic because she wants him to do things a certain way to get more help and not do this, then the third, because he needs his father, and she's trying to tell him and he doesn't want to listen. And so you have those two dynamics right there: father-son, hero wife or hero girlfriend. Then you have the dynamic of Luke Cage as the hero for Harlem because he has people that idolize him and then he has people that hate him. So that's 4 different relationships that you have to deal with, and it's very difficult to counterbalance that for Luke Cage's character, and totally understand that. Then he has a relationship with like his ex-lover, who's a police officer who now has one arm because she lost her arm, I believe. Did she lose her arm in the Defenders? Yeah, I believe she lost her arm in the Defenders. So now she has to deal with that situation, and he kind of feels guilty because of her injury. So that's like a fifth. That's a fifth relationship issue that he has to deal with throughout the show. Then Luke Cage also has to deal with the villain, or one of the main villains, who's Maya Stokes or Maya Dillon. I forget the actress's name. And then all the gangsters. She's like the head gangster now. She took over for Cottonmouth and Diamondback from the first series. So she's running the club now. She's running the Harlem Street. She's running all the gangster stuff. Trying to get away from the gangster lifestyle because she wants to help Harlem. And she's trying to open up organizations that empower women, empower African women, and in all aspects of this work and for future reference. So the place used to start out as a whorehouse back in the 60s and 70s, and now she's trying to establish it as a positive center for women and growing in the workplace. Gigantic change, you gotta respect that. But there are all so many different dynamics. And then you go into Maya Dillon's story, and she has an illegitimate daughter who's trying to come back, who she wants a daughter to run everything eventually. And then Maya Dillon, who's also Maya Stokes, they're the same character, has a relationship with Shades, who's another like bad guy gangster, and he's the only Hispanic that I saw, or one of the only Hispanics I see in the series. And so she has a romantic relationship with him, but he's also like the bodyguard, but also the partner of her to run the gangster shit. And everything is convoluted storyline, and they're constantly cutting back and forth and going over here and over there and over here and over there and over here and over there. Now, if you watch it carefully, you can follow everything. I followed everything fine. It's just there was some storylines, some story arcs that I think they focused way too much on, and I kind of got tired of those characters. Instead of embracing the characters and them flushing the characters out, which I appreciate, but there were some characters I just didn't like from the beginning, and I didn't really care for from the beginning, but I understood why they flushed them out. But it was just too much. It was just too much because, and not too much because of the writing, but too much because of bad acting. I mean, bad acting, bad timing. Some people just didn't speak well together, and they were just off. Like the main villain, Maya, or second to main villain, Maya, no, she wanted to be the main villain. Maya Stokes, every time the first couple of times she was on screen, you get it, she's the bad woman, she's this, then the third. You kind of start respecting her, and then she turns whatever, and then you're like, oh, come on, you're a piece of shit. And as in her character, not the actress, as in you're a piece of shit, like you're a gangster, you're gonna do this, then the third, and a lot of things that she did were horrible. And then they just kept going back to her and kept going back to her and kept going back to her throughout the series. And I'm like, enough. I don't need to know any more about her. I get it. She was trying to be good, didn't work out. She went back to being bad. She tried to have a relationship with her daughter, and she messed up several times. Her daughter took a step back, and then her daughter is not too far from the way the mother is, so it's whatever. And they just had bad acting sequence after bad acting sequence after bad rapport. And it's not just, I think the old gangster woman, Maya Dillon, was the worst actress in the entire series. She gave the worst acting, because she like sometimes like she like she was acting drunk, or she was like, I don't care. It was just annoying throughout every time she was on thing. It was just annoying. Then her daughter kind of got on my nerves a little bit too after a while. Shades, his character, they gave a lot of time to Shades, and I get it, they were developing his character. At a certain point, his face was annoying the crap out of me, and I got to respect Shades at the ending. I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna give too many spoilers or anything like that. I'm not gonna give too many spoilers about the ending of the series, but toward the ending of the series, I respected him, and I appreciated everything I got to know about the character. But there were times, man, where I just wanted to punch him in his face, because his face was just annoying. It had nothing to do with the character, what the character was doing. It was with the actor and doing smile. He'll do this a lot. Looked like you wanted to punch a bird in the face, like a bird was trying to take a shit. That's what his face looked like. It was like, oh, Jesus. Michael Coulter, again, his acting did progressively get better. They gave him a little bit more to talk about, especially when he was referring to his father. What else did I not like about it? The detective with one arm, I believe her real name is Missy. Some of her lines, the way she delivers some of her lines, was kind of like the same. The same. She's like confused and like, what? This is going where? What are they doing? What is going on? What should be happening? It's like, oh man, if you didn't look the way you look, 'cause I think she's an absolutely beautiful woman. But I think if she didn't look the way she looked, she would not be an actress. At least not in this series. Maybe in other work she did, she was great. Maybe the writing here was a little weak, some of the dialogue. So I can't blame the actors and actresses for everything. But yeah, a lot of the acting was off for me. A lot of the acting was horrible. It was just corny, cornball. You didn't believe what they were saying. You didn't believe these people were gangsters at all. There's only one person who I believe was a gangster, or actually 2 or 3 people I believe that they were actually gangster or came from that lifestyle to become actors, because they were really good. But yeah, what else did I not like? The cons. Let me get all the cons out as much as I can. Some of the editing was a little off. Sometimes they focused on too many things. Like the first episode was the worst episode. In direction, in editing, in everything, episode number 1 was the worst episode. So if you didn't like the episode 1, it does get better as you watch the series, but some of the bad acting continues throughout the entire series. They kept going back to the same settings, which I kind of got tired of. They kept going from the barbershop to the club, back to the barbershop, back to the club, back to the police precinct, back to the club, back to the barbershop, back to the police precinct, back to the club, or an alleyway, or a warehouse, or another warehouse, or another warehouse, another warehouse, another warehouse, another warehouse, back to the club, 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 back to the police precinct, back to the barbershop, back to the... It's like they only had like 3 main settings and then random warehouses all over the place. It kind of got tiresome after 13 episodes. And I didn't binge watch it. You kind of just you needed more settings. And if you even had the same settings, you needed better acting. Oh yeah, another bad thing. There's the final bad thing. The majority of this show is trying to push positivity and engagement with African Americans and the black community and everything like that. And it's designed and shot in a place where I used to live my entire life. And even though now I live 1,000 miles away from New York, it's still today's America with a lot of the racist bullshit that you hear on a regular basis and everything. Whether it's the media's bullshit or just like bullshit here in the street or just crap you hear in music, it's the word nigga. It's I'm sick of that shit already. I hate the word. I hate when people refer to themselves as I'm the head nigga, or when women refer to themselves I'm that bitch you gotta worry about, or when like you don't hear any Hispanic, any Latin person come like themselves and be like, yeah, I'm that spick. I'm that spick you gotta worry about. And those are like derogatory, those are horrible words. Those are racist words that are full of hatred. And yet it's said so fluently and so easily back and forth in this show. And I'm like, and it's in every episode. And I'm just like, why would you constantly use that word to just bring down, even though the characters are supposed to be, fighting good and evil against each other, why would you use that word that in real life is a derogatory word to bring your people down and just aim at each other back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? And it's just like, that's what gets me like pissed off about the show in a sense of realism. I mean, yeah, it's I hear friends call each other that on a regular basis, but I don't even like it, period. And it's just like right now, I feel like if I offended people just because I said the word nigga or bitch or spick or cracker, anything like that, just by me saying it here, even though I'm talking about it in a specific context, I feel like I offended people. And I don't like it. So it's just like what the hell? And they use that word in this series at least a few times for every episode. And I didn't like it whatsoever. Now, it's not my series. I'm not writing the series, so I have no real rapport with anything or with anyone who works with it. But if that's the route they wanted to go, then that's the route they wanted to go. But yeah, that's like the worst thing about that show. That's the worst thing I really hated about that show. Because in if there was a Puerto Rican or a Cuban or a Spanish superhero overall, they're not gonna be calling each other spick. You know what I mean? Or wetback, or they're not gonna use anything stupid like that. They're not gonna give that word any power. What they're gonna do is call each other king. They're gonna call each other my brother. They're gonna call each other, or if they're enemies, they're gonna call each other asshole, or you piece of shit, or whatever. They're not gonna go the racial route, because racial route is just giving more power to that word from where it came from. That's how I see it. If you disagree with me, okay, you disagree with me. That's how I see it. That's how I feel about it. I prefer those words didn't exist. But hey, leave comments in the section below if you want to have a discussion about it. I'll be perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy to discuss anything in a respectful manner. So yeah, now with the pros on Luke Cage. Like I said, Michael Coulter's acting progressively got better. His stoic approach to the Luke Cage character is straight up class. He's kicking people's asses. He kind of gets shot up all the time with the hoodies, hence why I'm wearing the hoodie, whatever. And is still a very strong symbol from Trayvon Martin and a few other people or many other people who were gunned down and shot and murdered, because the sense of a bulletproof black man is a powerful symbol, and I still highly respect that. That is incredible. That they brought that to a series distributed to this magnitude, pretty much to everyone on earth. With that being said, Michael Coulter is like the perfect Luke Cage. The dude looks like the freaking drawings from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's amazing. Like, he was born to play that freaking role. So he progressively got better. The Rosario Dawson character, I really enjoyed. I love Rosario Dawson. I will have a forever crush on her since I was a child till whenever. I'll have a crush on her. So she was good. Like I said before, Shades, eventually I started to respect Shades a lot, and his character and everything he was doing. A lot of the shady shit he was doing in the middle, I was like, whoa, that's crazy shit. But then later on, you don't respect him, but you get to like him. and I want to see what happens with his character come Luke Cage season 3. The setting of Harlem, like I said before, because I used to go to school for in Harlem for about a year or two. Worked in Manhattan almost my whole life. Whatever. Born and raised in New York. I love the some of the cinematography whenever they showed the streets, whenever they showed some Brooklyn sites, some Manhattan sites down by the river, when they showed certain parts of Harlem that I recognized. It was familiar for me, so I like that part a lot. A lot of people won't relate to it, but I do, because I'm no longer there. So I'm like, hey, it's nice, it's nostalgic for me. Mustafa Shakir. Mustafa Shakir plays the Bushmaster. His performance was so charismatic. At first, I kind of like thought he was cornball over the top, the very first scene, and then all of a sudden he started using capoeira and started whipping people's asses, and I was like, oh, Jamaican capoeira! I forgot about all that stuff, and he started whipping people's asses, and every single time Mustafa Shakir was on screen, he stole the scene from everybody. Even if he just stood there with his grimace face and just his anger, his angry green eyes, and his 1980s flat top haircut, is like, the dude was a formidable opponent against Luke Cage, and whooped Luke Cage's ass a couple of times, and Luke Cage whooped his ass a couple of times. Whenever they fought on screen, I was in. I was like, yeah, let's fight. Bap, 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 bap. Oh, and then when Luke Cage is just swinging like a boxer, all you see is Mustafa Shakir doing the capoeira stuff and kicking up and flipping up and going off of the rails and going off the wall and backing up. I was like, yeah, that was fucking great. Those fight scenes were well choreographed. There were a couple slip ups here and there where you're like, okay, they could have done that faster. They could have done this, whatever. But I have to give him much respect. Again, his name is Mustafa Shakir. He plays Bushmaster, and Luke Cage, he's the secondary villain, but he stole the show from everybody. Like, he was the most charismatic actor and charismatic character in the entire series, in the entire season. Just like the way Cottonmouth was the most charismatic and best villain in the first season, Bushmaster was the second here, because whether he spoke, whether he fought, or whether he just stood there screaming, he had your attention the entire time. I hope this dude plays in way more movies and way more TV shows. He looks like he has a grip on the bad guy role. Hopefully you see him more as a bad guy in different things. Yeah, he did great, man. I'm sorry, he completely blew me away. I was like, oh shit, this guy brought it like the way Killmonger brought it in Black Panther, where you're like, wow, like, yeah, I understand his motivation. I get what he wants to do. I get what he's doing. Actually, the story between Bushmaster and Killmonger are relatively the same. This is my birthright. I have to take it back, so that's pretty much what it is. Every episode he's in, I recommend you watch. I think he's like in 10 episodes out of the 13, I want to say, or 11 episodes out of the 13, and he's really a big chunk in the center and toward the ending. Not so much in the first two episodes. First episodes, I think he's just being introduced slightly in the second episode, or slightly in the first episode, and then he really picks up episode 3 and afterwards. But yeah, everything he was in was awesome. Scene stealer right there, absolute scene stealer. What's his name shows up for a minute. Iron Fist. I don't know why he showed up. I don't know. I don't even remember him. I don't remember what he did. I think he got into one little fight where his fist glue for 1 second, and that's it. That he was gone. So I have like a mixed bag of results for Luke Cage season 2. I'm sorry this review is taking so long, but there's just like so much to talk about it, and I'm trying to leave out a lot. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there's more good than bad in the season 2. Some of the worst things in season 2 is some of the acting. because and it's only about like really like 2 or 3 actors and actresses. Mainly the main villain that gave her so much time and she acted so badly. It's just, or maybe she just got on my nerves so much that I just like, okay, you're gonna say a line now, you're gonna say a stupid line now, you're gonna say a corny line now. Your stupid facial expressions are annoying the crap out of me. It was just bad for me. Um, a lot of the things they touched on, especially with the father and son aspect with between Luke Cage and his father, um, was very deep. It was very well explained, very well executed, and you have to give that a lot of respect. One shout out I have to definitely give respect to the actor, Reg E. Cathy, or Reggie Cathay. Um, he played Luke Cage's father, James Lucas, and he played the preacher, and he had some great voiceovers, and I think like 3 or 4 voiceovers throughout the entire series, and he had good moments with the son, and you could tell he was as big as strong, almost as big and as strong as Michael Coulter, like in real life anyway. But he was almost as big as Luke Cage in the series, and it was his father. He played the Reverend, excuse me, yeah, he played a Reverend, and he did a great acting job. Like he brought a lot of like stillness and respect and just like class to a lot of the episodes when he did his voiceovers. And then I was watching the series like, why did he do so many voiceovers? Why didn't they have him more in the series rather than the old lady? Because he was great. He was a hell of a lot better than pretty much everybody else in there, except for like maybe Bushmaster. And then I realized he passed away. But yeah, Luke Cage season 2, like I said before, it's a mixed bag for me. I have to give Luke Cage season 2 like a 5.5. They tried to save with the last 2 episodes. They tried to save it with the last 2 episodes. Last 2 episodes were more action packed. They were smarter written. They were more climactic. They had more of an edge to it. So the last 2 episodes of Luke Cage season 2 were very well done, especially the ending. I really loved how it ended, and that's what's gonna make me watch season 3, because they ended it in a way where you're like, okay, what's he gonna do now? Luke Cage, mixed bag. Watch at your own risk. Bushmaster was great. Luke Cage was good. He had a couple side characters that were good. Story was convoluted. One of the villains annoyed the crap out of me the entire series, and she was bleh. Anyway, this is Ray from Radar Reviews, and this is like one of the longest reviews I've ever had because it was worth talking about. Alright guys, enjoy whatever you're gonna be doing. Peace.